Hey guys, so in today's tutorial I am going to be talking about concealer and color correcting. Some people like to separate these out into two different videos, which is totally fine, but for me I feel like they kind of go hand in hand, and so I wanted to talk about both of them in one video for you today. There are definitely a lot of different concealers I would recommend. I'm going to list them down below so that I don't spend too much time talking about that. I will say that there are a lot of ones I would not recommend. One of which would be like the e.l.f. brand. It's very thin and it just doesn't really conceal, which is kind of the whole point of concealer. That being said, just make sure that whatever concealer you end up going with, that you're able to test it out. And if it doesn't work for you, as long as you've not used very much of the product, you are usually able to return those back to the store and get a better product that is more suited to you and your needs. So just make sure that you are getting the right colors and that you're getting the right coverage, no matter what brand you use. Today I'm going to be using this color correcting and concealer palette from NYX. I highly recommend it. You do have to dish out a little extra money up front, but in the end you are getting a lot more for your money. It is very long lasting because I feel like you don't have to use as much. And again, as the saying goes, you get what you pay for. And so by dishing out a little bit of extra money, it's going to be a better investment in the end. This is just a very good quality brand of makeup, and you can get it at Target. You don't have to go to Sephora or other places. Target carries this. But in the end, I feel like it was the better decision for me. Just because I do like to do color correcting and I use concealer a lot, and I didn't want to continue to dish out a ton of money for these cheaper products if it was gonna, if I was going to spend that money again and again and again, I might as well invest that in a better product, I guess is the best way to say it. So anyways, this is the product I'm going to be using, and I will briefly talk about the color correcting thing here in just a second. But the first thing I wanted to tell you is you need to prime your under eye area before you put concealer on. Now I'm sure you've heard about primer. Most people use it all over their face before they put foundation on, and if that's all that you have, use that under your eye area as well to prime your under eye area. However, they do sell primer just for the under eye area. The one that I'm using is by Mary Kay, and I'll list that below. I highly recommend it. I have been trying to conceal my under eyes for years and never used primer, and then finally got this stuff, put it on, and it just completely changed how my concealer went on and how it looked and how it lasted. So I've already put that on, and basically what it is I would squirt this out onto my ring finger. This is the weakest finger on your hand, and so that's always the finger you want to use if you're doing anything under your eye so that it doesn't tug and pull. So I put a little bit on my ring finger, I dabbed my two ring fingers together, and then I just patted it on. Again, not pulling and tugging and wiping off what you're putting on, but patting it on to allow the skin to fully absorb the product. And I did this in a triangle motion because that is where I'm going to be putting the concealer. So prime your under eye area first. And if you have leftovers, I just kind of rub my fingers together and just put it on my eyelids as well. So now that I've gotten all of that out of the way, I'm going to talk about color correcting and what these different colors are for. First of all, you'll see this yellow shade right here. This color is really good for covering up darkness, like blue, purple type colors. It just really helps to cancel that out. If you want to know more specifically about which colors are best for canceling out other colors, there is a thing called the color wheel. You can Google that image anywhere, and it will pop up and it will tell you exactly. But that is what is recommended for the yellow shade. For green, I'm going to actually show you with my little brush here. For the green, this is best used for blemishes. It really helps cancel out the redness. So as you see, I've got a little pimple up here today. I'm just going to tap some on there with the brush. Don't worry, the green is not going to stay because we're going to conceal over it. Okay, and then I'm just going to pat very lightly around it because I don't want to take off the product that I just put on there. But at the same time, I don't want this big green spot on there to get mixed in when I put my concealer over it. So I'm just going to tap very, very lightly, going around it and then just very lightly on top. Any excess will come off, okay? So that's what the green is for blemishes. Usually I just use this for zits and for pimples, but if you do have bigger areas of redness, you can use it. Just make sure you blend it on there very well so that your concealer will cover up very easily. Next we have purple. I haven't really used this one at all so far, but I've heard that it is really good for covering up bruising. Purple for that one. And then this one right here is more of a peach color. This is the one that I use the most, which you can probably see it's very much indented in there by now. But this one is really good when you're doing the under eye area to cover up dark circles. Again, if you want to get specific on the exact shade of color that you are experiencing under your eyes, you want to use the color wheel in order to cancel that out the best. But for me, the peach shade is the best for my skin tone and for most skin tones. Yellow might be better for more of a yellowness to your skin, but for me, peach was the shade to go, and I highly recommend this, and you'll see when I put this on just what a difference it does. It's almost concealer in and of itself. And then down here, I've got my concealer shade, and then there's a dark concealer shade for those that have more of this skin tone. Okay, so now that I've concealed this spot, I'm going to get another brush and I'm going to put the peach shade on and show you how to do that. Okay, so I'm going to be using this brush right here, and I will list these below as well. Okay, and again, we are going to be going in a triangle motion. So for this shade, I'm not going to need it all over the triangle area, but I am going to start right here, and I'm just going to start going down like that. Most of my darkness is right here, as you can see the light's catching it, is right here, and so that's where I want to put the product. And I'm just patting it on. Okay, already it's gone. You can't even see it. That's how amazing this stuff is. Okay, other side. Okay, get a little closer so that you can see. And I'm patting it on because, again, I don't want to take off the product I just put on there. Okay, now, as you can see, you can still see a little bit of a line here, but just know there are parts of your face that are just indented in certain ways. So if you have darkness, you know, like it's a skin coloring issue, then concealer, color correcting, it's definitely going to help with that. If you have indents there, bags under your eyes, obviously not everything can be erased. However, there are different tricks that you can use to detract away from that. So this is one trick that you can do by putting this stuff on here. The brightness will detract away from that. Also, I'm not going to do it in this video, but there is another trick that I've heard where it works really well, using red lipstick as a color corrector for those areas. I've heard it works wonders, and I have it here, and I will probably do a video on this, but that is another way that you can do it. Okay, so now that I've put this product on here, again, I've not put it all over, but just a little bit here and there. I'm going to use a beauty blender, and this is what it looks like. Okay, they come in different shapes and sizes. This is one from Target. I think it's kind of like the middle size, but I highly recommend it. It's just like a sponge, and it's got the flat part here for you to use on your face, and then it's got the pointed area for you to get up into the smaller areas around your eyes. So highly recommend this if you don't have one. I'm just going to very lightly pat and just blend, but I don't want to take off any of that product. So I'm just going to pat this area. Okay, and then very lightly go around my eyes and just spread it out just a little bit. As I get closer up here, I just want to be very, very careful because I don't want any of that coverage to come off. Not that it comes off that easily, but you just want to make sure that it's staying where you put it. Okay, I'm going to go for this concealer shade right down here, and it doesn't actually have names for it in this particular one, but typically my shade is more of like an ivory type shade. Okay. And the amount of coverage you use is completely up to you. Well, I've already started putting it on here. We got interrupted by neighbor kids, so apologize for that. And I'm just going to go down, and then I'm going to start bringing it up, and I'm going to explain the triangle motion. So basically, because I've been referring to that a lot, and you're probably wondering what that is. The triangle motion is going down, up, and back over. And the reason why we do that instead of just coming across is because when the light hits your skin, even if you blended it really well, if you've only lightened this one area, it's going to be very, very evident to anyone that catches, a glimpse of your face. When you do the whole triangle area, it gives an instant facelift, and when the light catches it, it doesn't just light up this area, it lights up the whole area. And so it's just much more natural looking and much more blended in. Okay, so leave that. And I'm going to go for this side, and again I'm patting because I don't want to take off the product I've already put on, and I want it to stay where I put it. I like to kind of go up around this area as well because that tends to be another area where I experience some darkness. Okay, and now I'm coming down so that I can make the triangle motion. Sorry, the light is catching my face here. Okay, so now that I've done that, I like to do just a little bit up top, and you don't have to do full coverage because we're going to use the Beauty Blender here in just a second to move it exactly where we want it to go. And then I'm just going to use just a little bit right here. Now, usually I would use the little brush that I used with the green color correcting color. I'd usually use that to do more of a little dotted coverage, but because I haven't had a chance to clean that brush yet, I don't want to blend the colors together, so I'm just using the same concealer brush I used under my eyes. Again, just going to pat that. Okay, now already it's covering it a lot better. You can see when I move closer to the light, it kind of erases me even more. But when I put the powder on, that's really going to seal the deal on just completely, not erasing it, but giving better coverage of that. One other spot that I like to do concealer, this is totally optional, this is up to you, but I like to just kind of do it down the bridge of my nose. Sometimes I'll go even up right here and then right here. And the only reason I do that is not necessarily because I need coverage there, but it just kind of helps balance out the lightness that I'm adding to my face so that I'm not just light here and here, but it kind of just balances all out and it almost works like an instant highlighter. So I'm just going to do that. Just blend it a little bit, and then I'm going to use my Beauty Blender for the rest. Okay, moving close so you can see, so I'm just going to blend this out. Again, make sure that you are choosing the correct color, because if you are going to be using concealer, not just under your eyes but in other areas, you want to make sure that it's not standing out. It does need to be a little bit brighter than your foundation, but it still needs to blend. Okay? So I'm just patting. Okay, as I get closer in here, lighter. And then I'm going to use this up top. Okay, so as you can see, when the light catches it, I have no dark circles. Pretty awesome. Now I'm going to do this side. Come up top. Up under my eyebrows. Okay, so already My face is bright and I haven't even put on foundation yet, and my skin, I won't say it looks perfect, but it's looking pretty good. Okay, so the final step is powder. Now the powder I'm going to be using here, this is by NYX, and it's HD Studio finishing powder. You can use any translucent powder. Some of them are white like this one, others might have more of a peachish color. There are different kinds. I prefer using the white, and you can even get e.l.f. brand of this, and that works just fine. I was just trying different brands and decided to try out the NYX one this time around. Now the brush that I'm going to be using for that is just a smaller brush, and let me show you comparison. This is the powder brush that I use all over my face. This is the one that I'm using under my eyes, so you can kind of see the difference. Now this one is a little bit more rounder. It was just one that came in a kit. If you can get one that's flatter like this, that's going to be even more ideal. However, this one works just fine too. So I'm just going to dab that into the powder. I'm going to use the lid to get off any excess. Now, let me just say this about translucent powder, especially if you go for more higher end ones. Be very thoughtful about where you put this powder, because when the light catches it, especially if your picture is taken with a flash, if this is not blended in correctly or in the right places, it will show up. And I will post a picture of that so that you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Maybe you've seen it with celebrities, powder gone wrong kind of thing. But just make sure that you blend it in very well and that it's in the right places. So here are the places that I would recommend putting it. Under the eye, so I'm patting it on, and as long as you're covering all of that area, it's going to blend just fine. Okay, and then I'm coming down into that triangle motion, and I'm just patting. I don't want to move any product. Okay, and then patting again. So when I talk about being thoughtful about where you put it, I would not want to put this powder up here, because if my picture is taken or if the light catches it in a weird way, I'm going to have a big white powdery looking area up here, and it's not going to match up with anything else I've got going on around my face. But under my eyes, perfect, because when the light catches it, it will instantly brighten my eyes and will cover up anything that's there. I do like to use a little bit of this down the bridge of my nose, but again, getting off any excess. And then I'll just kind of come down in here because I've already got it under my eyes, so it'll just kind of give a facelift to this whole area. Okay. And then I do like to use this on my eyelids as well. It kind of works as a good base before putting on anything else, or it's good enough all on its own. Okay, so now that I've done that, the final thing I'm going to be using is powder for the rest of my face to set everything and to blend everything in together. I'm using L'Oreal Paris True Match Super Blendable Powder. This one is in the color Creamy Natural. So again, I use either ivory or more creamy natural type colors. This powder is amazing. I go through so many of these things. I should probably stock up when I go shopping, but it covers like foundation. It covers really well. It comes on the bottom. It comes with a sponge. It will give even more coverage if you use a sponge versus this brush. However, I don't really need all that extra coverage. Okay. And then I'm just going to put this all over my face. Voila. And as you can see here, the finished product. It's not perfect by any means, but it definitely brightens my face and takes away from the darkness under my eyes. I really hope that this was helpful for you. And more than anything, remember, stay beautiful, because it really is a choice that you can choose every single day. Thanks for watching.